Shall I start?
Yes.
Yes. So, welcome everyone. Good morning, everyone from Dubai. Welcome to the third event in the current series of events during the unprecedented times of the global corona pandemic, hosted by Awakening the Soul. We opened this series on 18th of July by a wonderful speaker, Edward Anoba, who spoke on the topic, What is your adversity quotient? Then, immediately after that, we had a program which was called Breathe, which presented some yoga asanas to boost our immunity and reduce our stress levels. This was presented by Mr. Amar Sant from Pune. Mr. Edward Ranoba, the first speaker in this series of Awakening the Soul, presented the topic, and he is from the UK. So we had somebody from the UK, Mr. Edward, and then we had Mr. Amar Sant from Pune. And today's topic of discussion, Entrepreneur to Ecopreneur, is presented by Mr. Hosszu Zoltan. Mr. Zoltan is from Hungary, as you are aware from the invite that we have sent to all of you. He is an international trainer, an author, and a consultant, and he is also the chairman at Europe's largest eco village in Hungary. He is now serving the third term as in the local government as a deputy mayor. That's a lot of achievement for a person who is very young in age, in his early 40s. So the Eco Valley Foundation, which he runs and manages, it has developed scientific cooperation with 9 universities across Europe, and it's affiliated to the Hungarian Science Academy. And also, the Eco Valley Foundation has got the distinction of being the first Hungarian NGO which has been appointed as an observer organization status from the UNFCCC. So that's a tall achievement. Besides involvement with eco sustainability, Mr. Zoltan runs his own organization which trains people on leadership, provides consultancy, and eco sustainability as well. He gives various talks in various international forums, and he is certainly and truly an international figure. And we are really privileged to have him with us in the Awakening the Soul event for the day. And it's personally a privilege for me that I have been connected to Mr. Zoltan and have a wonderful relationship with him for the last decade or so. So today's topic is actually a topic which is very close to his heart, and we have named the topic for the day Entrepreneur to Ecopreneur. So that's the topic of the day, and the today's webinar is hosted on Zoom, and it's also being live streamed on Facebook and YouTube. So welcome you all for and thank you for your participation. So we now request, without much ado, Mr. Zoltan to take over and start his presentation for the day. Thank you very much once again, Mr. Zoltan. We are also joined by two of our directors of Awakening the Soul, Mr. Rajiv Sharma from Muscat and Mr. Tapan Meshram from Kuwait. So they are our directors in these countries who promote the activities of Awakening the Soul. And they will be fielding the questions. So as Mr. Zoltan speaks, any questions that may come to your mind, please type in your questions, and at the end of the talk, we will be requesting Mr. Zoltan to take the questions, and Mr. Tapan Meshram and Mr. Rajiv Sharma will be asking the questions on your behalf. Thank you all very much. Welcome everyone to this event for the day, and let's have the talk by Mr. Zoltan on the topic entrepreneurship to ecopreneurship. Thank you. So please take over.
Thank you so much, Krishnan. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I would like to greet everyone who's here now on Zoom or Facebook or YouTube or any other platform that you will see this talk or presentation later on. I'm really happy to be with you today, and I'm really glad to be able to speak without having to move, having to travel. Well, I was traveling for 5.5 months every year until this February, when I stopped doing that. And actually using technology is such a wonderful thing. Although we really miss the personal touch and the personal association of each other, but still the technology gives opportunity for us to connect. So today's topic is a very interesting topic, and that is from entrepreneur to ecopreneur. And I made a presentation that I will just start sharing with you right now. So when we think about our life, then we usually try to think big, what we would like to do, in the future, and how that would affect our present day life. And when we speak about today's topic, I would really like you to think about your larger goals in life and put all your daily activities in perspective of that. If you would like to, you can take a pen and a paper, or you can take notes on your computer or on your mobile phone, whatever you would like to. But I really strongly suggest that you take some notes. And when we speak about note-taking, usually what I advise everyone to do not write what I talk, what I say. Write how you would be able to implement that in your life. It will be much deeper, your understanding will be much deeper, and putting it in application will be much, much stronger. So from entrepreneur to ecopreneur. It's interesting that since I was 10, I was always thinking big. And what changed my life is that we were camping with my family. And we were camping beside a nice lake. And when we came out from the camping area, there was a bookstore. And I was just looking through all the books, and there was a wonderful book that I came across, and that is How to Be Successful in Life. And it was such an interesting book that even at a young age, 10 years old, I was really interested because the cover was really nice. So I took the book, I read the cover, I looked at the back of the book, I took it home and I started reading. And actually that book really helped me changing my life. At the age of 10, what usually people are doing? Well, what I was doing, I was playing football, I was a folk dancer in Hungary, and I actually did so many things that usually young children are doing. And that was always in my mind, in back of my mind, what I read in that book, that it would be so great to do something for the world. So when I went to school, I had a group of friends who we were always discussing important issues, important for us, like football and other things, but also there was some really important topics. And one of those topics was how we will try to change our surrounding, how we would like to have more people interested in what I'm interested in or what we are interested in. And as I started growing up, I was really trying to understand what my goal in life is. And then gradually, as I grew up, I became a leader in high school. Then I was the captain of our football team. And I was trying to do so many things just to be able to help others achieve what they would like to achieve in their life. And meanwhile, I got married, and I have two wonderful children. And I was thinking about, it's what will happen with my changing of the world idea? How will I be able to do that when I'm doing these things? I'm married, so I live as a family person. I do my work. I have some time for my hobbies. I have to take rest. And since I'm a social person, I would need to take care of my relationships also. So the question was whether this will be just a general life that usually people are living, or it will be something else that would help me to achieve what I was dreaming of since I was 10. And it was really interesting. There was one day when I was invited to Croatia to give a speech to a larger audience. The venue was in Zagreb, and the conference was called LEAP. And it was a young leadership conference. So I made my presentation. I was about to leave from Hungary there, and I faced something. I had to make decisions. Just as we always do, we have to make decisions, but this one was a really serious one because, well, I had my two children, and the older one was 5, the younger one was 2. And when I wanted to leave home, the older one fell sick and the younger one started crying. Actually, that happened quite some times before that, because they wanted to be with daddy. So I had a decision. What shall I do? Shall I stay home with the family and cancel my speech, or shall I arrange something else so that I will be able to pacify the family or the children, or I should just go and do my presentation irrespectful of what's happening at home. So I decided to just call the organizers to put me to a later time slot. And I called my mom if she would be able to come and she would be able to help. So just imagine, the smaller one is crying, the older one is really sick. So what can be done? So I called my mom. So my mom came. I brought her, and it was so interesting. she got out of the car, and I got out of the car, and she slammed the door, on her little finger. So her little finger was cut. It was cut so badly that she has to be rushed to the hospital. Again, what shall I do? Shall I take her to the hospital? What shall I do? Or shall I just get in the car and just go ahead and give my presentation after 3 hours of driving? So I called a friend to help, to take my mom to the hospital. I stayed home for a couple of more minutes or half an hour, and I tried to pacify my children. And then we agreed with my wife that, okay, now I can go. But there is one condition: I have to bring presents to the girls that evening when I come back. I said, fine, okay, let's do that. So my mom went to the hospital. She got some stitches because it was really badly hurt. The children were pacified, and then I went and I gave a presentation. So we are always faced with different decisions that we have to take. In fact, scientists say that we are facing 35,000 decisions each and every day. I just repeat that, 35,000 decisions every day, from getting up until we go back to bed. These are a lot of decisions. And usually we as entrepreneurs, we are trying to make logical decisions based on what I usually call math. That means money. Then A stands for everything that surrounds you, so the associates. T is time, and H is human resources. So we usually try to make decisions based on that. But then there is the other side of it, and that is decision-making based on emotions. So when I had this case with giving a presentation or staying home, what's happening with my mom, I could not just make simple logical decisions. Emotion was also playing a very valuable role in this whole thing. And actually, that is what's really important for us when we are moving from being an entrepreneur to becoming an ecopreneur. And we will speak about all the details of this a bit later. But what I would like to take home from this whole presentation is, what are those elements that you already practice, and what are those elements that you could add to your present arsenal of tools and practices, how you conduct your life. So remember that decisions are not always logical, and they are not always emotional. They are always a mix of these two things. So when we make decisions, it is always good to understand what drives us to make those decisions, and what are the triggers that help us moving towards making decisions. Just like I'm pretty sure that you know someone, or you know some people who wanted to lose weight. But losing weight is not decided at home. Losing weight is decided in the supermarket. If you go there, if you're there, and you just buy some chocolate and chips and all of these things, just in case, so that you would have that at home, for the guests who are coming, for the relatives who are coming, or sometimes for the evening snack time that no one else sees. So decision making is not a one-time event. Decision making is a process, and we have to understand what are those things in our life that affects our decisions. And this leads us to 4 types of goals. There are short-term goals that everyone knows about. There are long-term goals that also everyone knows about. There are lifetime goals that rarely a few people think about. And there are spiritual goals that even less people think about. Short-term goals are very simple. Anything that I would like to do on a very short period of time. You know, I would like to go home and have lunch, or I would like to attend a seminar, or I would like to buy a new cover for my phone, or I would like to spend some more time with my children. So all of these things, these are short-term goals. But there are long-term goals that are affecting our short-term goals also. So these long-term goals are usually between 5 to 15 years. What we would really like to see ourselves achieving 15 years from now. And then there are lifetime goals. What's the legacy that you would like to leave behind? What's the legacy you would like to leave behind? How would you like people think of you when you're not here anymore? So lifetime goals are really important and substantial, because if you have those, then those could be the guiding principles for your long-term and for your short-term goals also. But then comes all the spiritual goals that you could have in life. Spiritual goals are those guiding principles that help you through every problems in life. These are your inherent qualities that you would like to develop, your humility, your ethics, the morals, all of these things. And eventually, when we speak about spiritual things, we also think about something that are way beyond us and our connection to something that's way beyond us. So when we speak about these 4 types of goals, we understand that short-term goals are many. There are lots of short-term goals. And then we have a few long-term ones. As I said, 5 to 15 years. So these are long-term ones. But as you see, there are some short-term goals that has no connection with the long-term ones. So what's happening with those? Those are just hanging up in the air. What result will that give us? Well, they cannot just hang up there. They will fade away eventually if those have no connection with your long-term goal. Like watching a movie on Netflix tonight. Does that have anything to do with your long-term goal or with your lifetime goal? What legacy would you like to leave behind? So it is important to understand that long-term goals are always substantiating or funding or give the foundation to the short-term goals. And then we have the lifetime goals. And again, the same question: how many of our long-term goals are helping to achieve our lifetime goal? So if there are long-term goals that are not helping, then maybe it's better to think about it twice. But then we go to the next one, and that's spiritual goals. And as I said, morals, ethics, qualities, all of these things that are there. So everything that you do in life should have a real strong connection to your core self, how you conduct yourself in each and every situation. As it is said that you can recognize a gentleman, how that person is treating the waiter or the taxi driver, not how they are treating their business partners. So there is usually a task that I like to give to people who are attending the seminars or leadership training that I do, and that is a 30 days challenge. 30 days challenge. And you know, Brian Tracy is doing the same thing. He's giving this challenge to people, and actually this is something that changes people's lives. So just try it for 30 days. Write down your goals. Have a short or a small book with empty papers in it, an exercise book, and just sit down every morning when you wake up. Don't do anything else. Just sit down and write down all your goals that come to your mind. Those could be anything. Those could be personal goals. Those could be financial goals. Those could be educational goals. Those could be business goals, and any kind of goals, short, long, lifetime, spiritual, anything. Whatever comes to your mind, that's a goal, just write it down. Then the next day you open that exercise book on an empty page. Do not look at your goals that you wrote the day before, and just write down again whatever comes to your mind, what you would really like to achieve. And do this for 30 days. If you don't do anything else, just this, your life will change. Your life will completely change, because what is happening is that subconsciously you are training yourself to think about what you would like to achieve, and you would make decisions that will help you achieve those goals. So try this. This is such an important exercise for all of us. So what is an ecopreneur? It's more than just an environmental friendly business person. Well, I will read this. The official definition of an ecopreneur is the following: an entrepreneur who creates and sells environmentally friendly products and services, including organic food, recycling efforts, or green construction. Well, if we think about what ecology means the relationship in between existing things and their surroundings. So ecology, again, just a definition, the branch of biology that deals with the relations of organisms to one another and to their physical surroundings. So when we speak about an ecopreneur, it is much more than just being environmental friendly. So this ecopreneurship will determine everything in our life, how we conduct ourselves, how we deal with each other, how we deal with the surroundings, how we are dealing with not just the physical surroundings, but with our relationships. And eventually it will help us being better persons in each and every aspect of our life. It could be family, it could be business, or it could be any kind of business or managerial issue also. So when we try to be ecopreneurs, we also strive for excellence. But excellence is achieved only when you do things according to your nature. You know, I love singing. I really love singing. I'm not a good singer, I'm an average singer, but I love singing. So I am an average singer, and if I would like to be an excellent singer, then if we look at a measure from 1 to 10, let's say I'm a 5, maybe a 6. When I do a lot of practice, when I really put a lot of effort, still my singing would be what, a 7 or an 8. Definitely it will not be a 9 or a 10. And you know, average is good when you have a hobby, but when you would like to leave a legacy, then you would need to become excellent in what you're doing. So you should find what you're good at, not average, but good. You know, when you go to a restaurant and you order some food, or just a waiter comes and the waiter asks, what would you like to have for dinner tonight? Then you're not saying, oh, I just bring me something average. You never say that. What you would like to experience the best possible food. You would like to taste the best possible food in that restaurant. So the same thing, do not settle for average. You have to understand what you're really good at, and then make a lot of effort to be even better and better and better in that thing. So from a 7, you can become a 9, or you could become a 10, because that's what the world will recognize. And that's how you will be able to leave a legacy. So excellence is followed by responsibility. Responsibility for your own life, for everything good that happened and for everything bad that happened. Do not get into the blame game. It's not that always someone else is to blame if something does not work out well. And if something goes well, then it's because of me. So we have to get out of this, and we have to see that once we took responsibility for the results that we receive, that we get in life, that's when we will have the freedom to move forward. That's when we will have the freedom to be ourselves. That's when we will have the freedom not to put ourselves in brackets, but to think out of the box and really move forward. Responsibility is foundational for anyone who would like to leave a greater legacy. You know, if someone does not take responsibility for the results that he or she receives in life, then that's like always waiting for the hero to come and save us. And well, I have to tell you, heroes are there in fairy tales. Very rarely heroes are there in everyday life, but we can be the heroes of our own life. And that starts by taking full responsibility for whatever happens with us. So we have to have a growth plan. Otherwise, our goals will just hang in the air and it will not be substantiated. If we do not take responsibility for our own life, then we will not be able to make proper plans, because we will always think that we could not achieve the goals according to our plan because someone else did something to us and it just did not work out. So usually entrepreneurs are really fantastic in making growth plans and any kind of plans for the company. And for quite some years now, one of my main tasks as a mentor was to help successful businessmen, successful business people to put their personal life together. Because their personal growth plan is never there in place. They have wonderful ideas, they have really amazing businesses, and they are really good at doing that, but they forget to develop themselves. And developing themselves is one of the hardest thing to do, because we see everyone else from outside, but we see ourselves from inside. And because of that, it is really hard to change the point of view. So when we have a growth plan for ourselves, when we know how we would like to develop ourselves, that will free us and that will help us to attain and achieve all the personal goals that we would like to in life. But developing ourselves, what does that really mean? Developing ourselves means that we acquire those skills, we acquire those talents, we acquire those qualities, and we have a very strong ethics and morals as a foundation to all of those. So this means that we are looking for those mentors, those coaches, those friends who can be frank with us, who can tell us what we do wrong, who can tell us what we do well, and who can direct us in our life so that we can achieve more and more. But external growth without internal growth is not permanent, is temporary. External growth that's based on internal growth is also temporary, but the effect on ourselves is different. Because if we have a strong foundation, strong internal foundation, we understand who we are, we understand our nature, we understand what we are excellent in, we understand what we are not good at in, then we will be able to surround ourselves with people who are excellent in those areas that we are not. And that's when you will be able to move from one level to the other. A good leader's quality, one of the good leader's qualities is that he surrounds or she surrounds himself or herself with people who are excellent in the areas that he is not. But for that, we need introspection, and we need people around us who we can accept when they say that something is good or something is not good. And that leads us to our last topic, and that is balance. The joyful leadership training that we are conducting in several countries in Europe, and that is a EU funded leadership training for young entrepreneurs. This is one of the main topics of that 8 days training. That is balance. Balancing rest, race, recreation, and relationships, or as we call it, balancing the 4 R's. Rest, race, recreation, and relationships. Rest is how much you spend on sleeping and how quality is that sleep is. Do you understand what tools can you use to have a more relaxed sleep, a more refreshing sleep? Race is the everyday business, the everyday life that you lead. What are the tools that you use to be able to be more effective, more efficient, and to live a life that will be eventually, that is a happy life. Recreation, usually, recreation is the symptom of not being balanced. If you do not have time for recreation, if you do not have enough time for recreation and no quality recreation, then that means that your life is not balanced. And of course, the last part is relationships. No one can live without proper relationships. No one can live a happy life without happy relationships. And everyone wants to be happy. No one wants to be sad or miserable. Everyone wants to live a happy life. So happiness will be there when all of these things are there in our life. We understand ourselves. We know what are we excellent in. We know what is our growth plan. We know that we take responsibility for our life and that we live a balanced life where rest, race, recreation, and relationships are all balanced. Thank you very much for your attention. And now I will finish and I will give back the mic to Christian.
Yeah, we have been receiving some questions. Can Rajiv field some of the questions that have come? And then Tapan, I can see 2 questions on the Zoom webinar. And Rajiv can take on the first question. And then Tapan can field the second question.
First of all, thank you, Zoltan. It was absolutely fantastic, and particularly the last part that you spoke about, balance, so very important. So thank you. And the first question is from Claire Rece, and her question is, what is the importance of spiritual goals? How do we amalgamate spirituality and business goals in order to be an effective ecopreneur?
Thank you so much for the wonderful question. Thank you so much. So, as you remember that on that slide that I showed you, short-term, long-term, lifetime and spiritual goals. So spiritual goals are all those that are that are the foundation of everything else that we do in life. And that means that we understand what are those qualities that we would like to have in life, how those qualities are helping us in our everyday life. Also, it is important to understand that spiritual strength is coming from those qualities, from understanding those qualities, and from being able to conduct ourselves in each and every situation in life based on those morals and ethics. Also, there are, when we speak about spiritual things, sometimes we speak about religious things, but it's not only that. It's that we have to have such a strong foundation in our morals and ethics and qualities and conducting ourselves that would influence us to always act and work based on those qualities. So our integrity should be intact. So as I have seen and I have dealt with a lot of leaders in my life, that is the foundation of their excellence in leadership, integrity. And that integrity is rooted deeply in their spiritual life or spiritual understanding or spiritual qualities and ethics and morals that guide their life. And we are speaking about basic things here. We are speaking about, we speak about humility, we speak about being devoid of pride, we speak about accepting others' comments for our life, we speak about understanding who we are and try to conduct ourselves based on that. If we do not understand who we are and we always want to become someone else, then how will we be able to develop ourselves and grow ourselves?
Thank you. There is a second question, which is on similar note, almost like a follow-on question. This is from Rashida K. And Ms. Rashida is asking, how many times the business world lacks ethics? How do we deal with this? And I like to add one more component to it, which is even if we want to be ethical, but we have certain pressures from the top, right and left, which expect that in the business environment, we may not be able to adhere to those ethical standards. So how should we deal with this in today's world?
Thank you so much. Such an important question. So that's where our strength, spiritual strength and integrity comes in place. And I give you one example. So I was the captain of that football team. I was a semi-professional football player at the time. And I was, what was I, 16, 17 at that time. And we, as usual, we have the games, the matches during the weekend. And I know that some of my teammates really like to have parties. Usually that goes on Friday and Saturday evening. And our games were on Saturday and Sunday. So once we had a really important game, and one of my teammates came to play drunk. And it was really interesting. He was the best player in our team. And our coach was there and he said, okay, well, just dress up and go. And I said, no way. I mean, how could you do this? I mean, it just doesn't work. Why? And we had quite an argument with the coach. And what happened is that he said, I'm the coach. Whatever I say, that goes. I said, fantastic. Took my shoes off, put them down. I never went back to play. And yeah, I was the captain of the team. So we have to have strong integrity to be able to give something to the world. There are so many businesses and so many businessmen who are pressurized, who are pressed into non-ethical things. But if we give in, then it will hurt our integrity. And eventually, at the end of the day, who will you face in the mirror? So for me, it is really important that whatever I say, that's what I do. Whatever I do, that's what I say. And as much as possible, I try to recognize non-ethical things and try to fight against it. And yes, there could be setbacks, temporary setbacks, definitely. If you do not follow what your boss say, or if you do not give in to some of these pressures, but you have to think about it. What gives you the greater benefit? To have your integrity intact, or to do something for that short-term goal that you or your boss or your company or anyone, your friends, would like to put you into. So I think that this is really, really, really important, especially at the present day. Because at the present day, when so many things are influencing us, you just remember 35,000 decisions a day. What will help you to decide what's good for you or what's not good for you? Stand in front of the mirror in the evening and if you can, without any problem, say that everything what I did today was according to my morals, ethics, and values. If you can say that, fine. If you cannot say that, then you have to sit down and look for those opportunities that you could have changed your decision, or you could have raised your voice, or you should think about changing your work and try to be in an environment that's helpful for your own values.
Thank you so much. There is one more question. This is from Ms. Manju, and she asks that how to identify a mentor.
How to identify a mentor?
Yes.
Okay, very, very nice one. Thank you so much for that. Well, first of all, you have to know what you would like to achieve, because no mentor can help you if you don't know what you would like to do. Once you know that, then you should find those people who are who achieved already what you would like to achieve, and who are able to share what and how they did. Usually, we try to seek for those people who are available and who are able to help us. This means that the person already achieved something in life, something similar what we would like to achieve, and the person already helped others to achieve similar things. The person's personal life and what he teaches or she teaches are not in conflict with each other. And once these are there, then you could go ahead and try to ask her or ask him to be a mentor for you. We should also think about it that it's not that one mentor will be able to help in every aspect of life. So we could have many mentors, but we have to be careful so that when we have many mentors, then what they say, those would not conflict. So it's good to understand what are those distinct areas of life that I would like to ask help for, and then only ask help in those specific areas from that particular mentor. Otherwise, we could mess up things in our life, and that's never good to be confused.
Thank you, Mr. Zoltan. Now we have another question and a comment from Mr. Sunaja. Thank you for an amazing topic and superb explanation. How about the impact of Ecopreneur in the education field? Can you reflect on its impact, as today's children are tomorrow's future? What will be your suggestions on educating children in this important topic?
Thank you for the wonderful question. And well, as you wrote, Sunaja, that children are the future. So how shall we train our children? Well, there are three main influencing factors when we educate our children. One is the family, the other is the school, and the third is friends. So the best is if the values are the same or at least similar in all of these three areas, in the family, in the school, and among the friends. And I mean, that's quite hard to achieve. But at the same time, when we speak about education, we are trying to see what we would like to educate our children in. Now, many times what I see that our educational system is limited to topics, limited to technical things. They teach you how to become a software engineer. They teach you basic math. They teach you chemistry. They teach you history, literature, grammar, all of these things they teach you. But to become a human being, to become a person of integrity, to become a person who helps others, who recognizes others' needs, who understands his or her own limits, understanding his or her own nature. These things are not trained in school. But this would be the most important. because all the others eventually will be learned and will be taught. But if these basic qualities of understanding others' needs, understanding my limits, understanding the importance of developing values, if these are not there, what's the use of learning math? I was studying to become a software engineer of robotics. I stopped studying there because I did not get what I really wanted, and eventually I became a agroeconomist and rural development engineer. So all of the time when I was in school, I was taught technical subjects. And no one ever even tried to train me to become a human being. So that's my goal in life, to help leaders, to help other people who are influencing thousands to be such a human being whose integrity is really strong, who has those qualities and who has those values, who has those ethics and morals that would help thousands of people. And that's why here in our Eco Valley, we are working so much on developing our educational system. And just now, next Monday, hopefully we'll receive the permission from the government to have our own curriculum from kindergarten, meaning from the age of 3 up to the age of 18, to train and educate children who are living here and around Eco Valley. And here our main focus is to help the children to understand their own nature, help children understand what does it mean to serve society, help children to understand how to conduct themselves and how to understand others' needs and act accordingly, how to be ecopreneurs, how to live based on nature, how to live based on proper human relationships. And from the age of 3 until 18, we will give them the opportunity to try themselves in whatever aspect of life they would like to. They can try everything from gardening to teaching, from bookkeeping to selling stuff, from educating others to keeping cows, to make pots, do pottery, or making cloth, and all of these things. They can try themselves, and then they can be trained in all of these things. And everything is based on educating children to be human beings who are caring for others. You know, all of these things that children are put in classrooms, and only same age children are put in classrooms, and then as you can see in Tapa Meshram's clock here. So and then there's a clock that rings. Now it's over. Now you have to get in class. I mean, what is this? What kind of education is that? It's like once I heard a presentation, and they said, well, it's like jail. That's where, well, ring shows that you have to do something, ring shows that you have to stop something. So if you put children together, different ages of children together, properly supervised and helped, they will start understanding that the elder ones should care for the younger ones. The younger ones should understand or can understand that they have to do things according to what the bigger ones say, because then we will be cared for and safe, and we will not do this and that. But the older ones can also understand how to give more space to the younger ones, so that they could freely grow in to doing what they have to do at that age. So that's also a very important thing. The other aspect at home, for a couple of years, I was training as a horseback archer, riding horses and shooting arrows. I'm not a horseback archer. And yesterday I visited my horseback archery teacher, and we were speaking about horseback archery, and we spoke about life in general, and it was so interesting. He was also saying that, the roles are mixed up now, and if children are not given the right space with the right boundaries, they will not grow up as responsible adults. And I remember once we had a training session, and all of us, we were standing in line, and there are people from the age of 8 until 60. So there are many different, but we are staying in the same line. And then Lajos, that's his name, he just asked the younger ones, who washed the dishes yesterday evening at home? Was it you or was it your mom? Everyone said that it was my mom. He just said, why you are always want others to serve you? What do you add to the family other than expecting others to serve you? What do you add to your family? Why can't you wash the dishes? Why is it that your mom should do that, who's working whole day, and then comes home, cooks for you, feeds you, and then she also has to do the dishes? And then all of those young people were running 10 kilometers, of course, just to make sure that they understand that they have to take part in social interactions. And one of the social interactions at home is helping mom and dad. So that's the approach to education that I usually try to propagate wherever I go. Is that okay? Is that something that
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, very, very, very enlightening. Thank you. There's one more question. If you could please take one more question, and that's from Ms. Kavita, and she asks, business environment is all about short-term goals and quick achievements. The people are racing to grow and go after successes in short duration. What is your suggestion in how we act that leaves a mark in there and bring the change in people around me?
Okay, so usually we think about short-term goals, and this whole election thing every 4 years, every 5 years, these are forcing governments to think short-term. In business, or it has an effect on business also. So usually businesses are thinking short-term, quarterly. You have the quarterly reports, and you have the annual reports. Whenever I work with business people or companies, I always ask, what's your plan for the next 15 years? I don't want to see the exact growth number and the percentages. I want to see whether they have the scope or not. Because if you don't have the scope, just the short-term goals, and you just see the short-term results, then it will be extremely hard to leave a legacy. Because then only the short things are there, the short results. But on a long term, what can you show? So we have to understand our business. And there are some businesses that cannot think long term or longer term. But there is one thing that each and every business needs to do if they want to survive long term, and that is education. So there are no companies that have short-term goals or only short-term goals that cannot implement a long-term, thorough educational system within the company. It could be just selling food. It could be selling stocks. It could be anything. An integral educational system for each and every level of people in the company will help people understand why they belong to that company and why they are working on the short-term goals. Because we as human beings, we are wired in a way that we want to have stability and safety. That cannot be achieved only by running after short-term goals. And if the company is set up in a way that only short-term goals are achievable, then the long-term goal that could be there is, what education can you give to all the people in your company? Because that education will last. For the individual, that will last. And if that education is helping the person to understand his own goals, short, long life, spiritual goals, then that is something that will be appreciated so much that the person would like to stay within the company. When I was helping family businesses, one of the toughest things for them is keeping qualified people. When they train someone for 1 or 2 years to be able to do the mechanical work, the effective day-to-day work, they invest time, they invest money, they invest so much of their energy. And then if there is a better offer, then trained people are just leaving. So you cannot stop that, but you can balance it out by giving an education that is teaching the business owners morals, ethics, values, and integrity, and hands that over to the employees or partners. Otherwise, this thing will just happen over and over again. That you train someone to be able to do the technical parts, and then after being trained, he leaves because of a better offer. So if you would like to keep people in your company who are trained, and you cannot pay more than your competitors, then train them. Train as much as you can, not just in the technical day-to-day business thing, but try to train them in understanding those morals, ethics, and integrity that you have. Also, at the same time, we can understand that we cannot change whole business schemes and models, and we cannot change the whole stock market. We can understand what we can influence. And if our circle of influence is something that we target, not the circle of interest, then we as individual persons will grow. That's why I wrote that personal growth is so important, because that is something that no one can take away. No market crash can influence it. Nothing can take away your internal personal growth. That's always there. Does that help? Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Zoltan. There are, in fact, 2 more questions or 3 more questions, but due to lack of time, we will send you the questions and you can answer those questions for us on email. And it's really a divine arrangement that we had you with us today, because at Awakening the Soul, our stated vision has been to systematically propagate knowledge to society at large, to raise their level of consciousness, to check the imbalances of values in life, to achieve real unity and peace in the world. So the learning that I have as a take home for the day is the aspect of goals, which you have so nicely expressed, about the short-term goals, the long-term goals, and the lifetime goals and the spiritual goals. The 2 learnings that I have is that while short-term goals and long-term goals cannot be ignored and they're so important, but we have to make sure that we blend our life in such a way that we do not forget the lifetime goals and the spiritual goals. So as we focus and never lose sight of the lifetime goals and the spiritual goals, one by one, as you demonstrated with those building blocks, the irrelevant lifetime, the long-term and short-term goals will automatically fall away. So that for me was a real take-home point. That's about raising the consciousness levels in ourselves. And then also the aspect of balance you spoke about, with enough rest, raise, recreation, and relationship. That was also indeed so relevant. So these for me is the take home personally, which I would like to implement in my practices in my life. So thank you so much, Zoltan. I also thank Tapan Meshram and Rajiv Sharma for fielding the questions for the day, and the other people associated with Awakening the Soul, who has provided us the coordination and the tech support, that is Janvi Krishnan and Rajni, who've been with Awakening the Soul and helping out always. So I take this opportunity to thank everyone. And as part of the upcoming events, we have a very, very interesting program coming up on the 22nd of August. And for a change, we're going to have a monk speaking to us. His name is Chaitanya Charan from the city of Mumbai in India. And he will be speaking on a very, very interesting topic again. He is known as a spiritual scientist, and he will be speaking on building inner strength amidst the outer crisis that we are going through. So, kindly participate in these events of Awakening the Soul. As I told you that we want to accomplish this vision of ours, which is stated by me a few minutes back, by as we state our vision, please remember that ours is a voluntary and non-profit non-profit venture. And so how can you help? So subscribe to our YouTube channel. That will be greatly helpful. Spread the word around about Awakening the Soul initiatives. And as I said, that we are promoting holistic living, and therefore anything connected with holistic living, which we can do together, please let us know, and we'll be keen to participate with your endeavors. So thank you all very much once again, and hoping to see you in all our future events. Thank you all very much, and hope you have a very nice and enjoyable weekend. And please meditate on today's talk and try to implement points in your life. Thank you all very much once again.
Thank you.